What would you do if your heart whispered that something was wrong, but your eyes had no proof? When late night texts turn into hidden smiles, when just a friend feels like more than a friend, and when the phone, that little glowing screen, starts to feel like your biggest rival in love? Before we delve into the details of this very controversial matter, welcome to Responsible Parenting TVC, building stronger homes, one truth at a time. Here, we bring you deep insights on love, marriage, and relationships, the beauty, the battles, and the breakthroughs. Subscribe now, and let's grow stronger together. Disclaimer: this content is for education and awareness only. It does not replace professional counseling, therapy, or legal advice. Again, I ask you, what would you do if your heart whispered that something was wrong, but your eyes had no proof? When late night texts turn into hidden smiles, when just a friend feels like more than a friend, and when the phone, that little glowing screen, starts to feel like your biggest rival in love? In this powerful episode of Responsible Parenting TVC, we ask a question that has shattered homes and tested countless hearts. Should you ever check your partner's phone? If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe now. If you're on Facebook, follow our page, like, comment, and share this video with others who need to hear this truth. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell, because every episode here could save a home, a heart, or a marriage. It was 9:47 p.m. in Lagos, and Chika sat on the edge of her bed, her husband's phone glowing on the nightstand like forbidden fruit. The house was quiet, the children asleep, and her mind was louder than the ticking wall clock. She wasn't trying to invade privacy. At least that's what she told herself. She just needed peace. For weeks, Nnamdi had been distant. He smiled less, laughed less, and his phone, once carelessly left anywhere, had suddenly become a second skin. He took it to the bathroom, to the kitchen, even to the balcony when answering calls. "Work issues," he'd say, brushing off her questions with tired smiles. But something in his tone, that subtle tremor between guilt and exhaustion, made her stomach twist. That night, Chica's trembling fingers hovered over his phone. The passcode hadn't changed. Her heart raced. "Should I?" she whispered into the darkness. She remembered her pastor's words. "Trust is fragile. Once cracked, it never sounds the same." But so was her sanity, fragile, cracking, desperate. With one deep breath, she unlocked it. The messages were there. A woman named Kemi. The emojis were innocent enough, but the timestamps, the consistency, spoke of something deeper than coincidence. "You always make me laugh. Wish you were here to see this. Don't let her stress you." Her world froze. Her chest tightened. She felt both powerful and powerless. Powerful because she finally knew. Powerless because knowledge came with pain. She didn't wake Nnamdi that night. She didn't throw the phone or scream. She just sat there, numb, eyes burning, scrolling through words that weren't hers. But when morning came, she couldn't pretend anymore. "Who is Kemi?" she asked softly, her voice trembling, not with anger but disbelief. Namdi's face drained of color. He didn't deny. He just sighed, sat down, and said the words that cut deeper than a lie. "Why were you on my phone, Chika?" That was it. The question that shifted guilt and cracked open the real wound. Not just infidelity, but trust. Because beneath every act of phone checking lies a bigger truth. A fear that love is fading, that honesty has been replaced by half-truths, and that technology has become the new battleground of marriage. Chika's pain isn't unique. Across London, in Toronto, in Nairobi, in Atlanta, countless spouses wrestle with the same torment. Do I trust what I feel or what I see? Do I ask directly or investigate silently? But here's the hidden irony. The act of checking, though driven by love and fear, often accelerates the very breakdown it tries to prevent. It turns partners into detectives and love into evidence. Relationship therapists call it digital insecurity, a modern symptom of emotional neglect. When couples stop talking about their fears, their devices start speaking louder than their hearts. And that's where so many marriages fall apart. Not because someone checked a phone, but because they stopped checking in with each other. Chika sat in silence that morning, tears streaming. "You didn't answer my question," she whispered. And for the first time, Nnamdi didn't defend himself. He just said, "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Was it emotional cheating? Was it loneliness? Or was it both? In that moment, their home became a courtroom with no judge, no lawyer, just two people bleeding truth. The truth is, phone checking is rarely about curiosity. It's about confirmation. It's about wanting reassurance when communication has failed. It's about needing to feel chosen again, seen again, trusted again. But here's the danger. Once you go through that phone, you can't unsee what you find. You can't unread the messages. You can't erase the screenshots in your mind. It becomes a new scar in the story of your marriage, one that healing must now include. And yet, some will say, "At least she knew." Others will whisper, "She shouldn't have looked." But the truth lies somewhere between love and fear, between transparency and privacy, between security and control. So, should you ever check your partner's phone, or should you instead check your heart to ask why you no longer feel safe without proof? Because trust doesn't die the day you discover betrayal. It dies the day you stop feeling emotionally seen. But what happens when the truth finally comes out and both partners must face not just the messages, but the silence that led there? If you're touched by this story, comment "Marriage with Wisdom," share it with loved ones, and subscribe for more real life stories that heal hearts on Responsible Parenting TVC. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell. The next part might just change how you see love forever. The air was heavy the next morning, the kind of silence that doesn't come from peace but from emotional exhaustion. Chika stood by the kitchen counter, stirring tea she didn't plan to drink. Nnamdi sat across from her, avoiding her gaze, his phone nowhere in sight for the first time in weeks. For the first few minutes, no one spoke. The ticking wall clock filled the room like judgment. Then, finally, Chika broke the silence. "I didn't check your phone because I wanted to catch you," she said quietly. "I checked because I was losing my mind." Her voice was calm, but her heart trembled. "Every time you smiled at your screen, I felt invisible. Every time you said, 'It's just work,' I felt like the stranger in my own home." Nnamdi looked up, guilt washing over his face. "I know," he said softly, "and you're right. I wasn't fair to you. But Chika, checking my phone, that wasn't fair either." There it was again, the defense of privacy, the shield of boundaries, and yet both of them knew that boundaries without honesty become walls. Chika sighed. "Then what's fair, Nnamdi? Is it fair that I have to guess who you're texting? Fair that I'm supposed to trust words that feel hollow? Fair that I'm fighting for a place in your attention?" He looked down at his hands, twisting his wedding ring, a gesture that once symbolized devotion, now heavy with contradiction. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "Kemi was just someone I talked to when things got tense between us. She listened. She didn't judge. And somehow it felt easier." Chika's lips parted in disbelief. "Easier," she repeated, voice rising. "Easier than talking to your wife? Easier than facing me?" He didn't answer because sometimes silence is the only confession left. In that painful pause, something deeper surfaced, not just betrayal, but emotional starvation. So many couples live together but communicate like strangers. They share beds but not burdens, conversations but not confessions. And that's how it begins, not with an affair, but with a disconnect, with a husband who feels misunderstood and a wife who feels unseen, with two hearts beating in the same home yet miles apart. Therapists call it the intimacy gap. Psychologists describe it as emotional drift, the slow erosion of closeness caused by unspoken resentment and unmet needs. When couples stop having hard conversations, they start seeking soft distractions. Phones, chats, likes, DMs, little escapes that promise attention without accountability. But here's the truth. Emotional affairs often start where communication ends. That afternoon, Chika and Nnamdi sat down with Pastor Grace, a calm, insightful marriage counselor known for her firm gentleness. She listened to both sides without judgment, then said something that shifted everything. Chika, she began, you were wrong to invade his privacy. But Nnamdi, you created the secrecy that pushed her there. Both of you stopped protecting the same thing, your trust. Her words hung in the air like sacred truth. You see, Pastor Grace continued, marriage doesn't survive on privacy. It survives on transparency. Privacy is about space. Secrecy is about hiding. You both confused one for the other. Nnamdi's eyes softened. So what do we do now? Start rebuilding, she said gently, not by deleting messages or changing passwords, but by rebuilding emotional safety, because until you both feel safe, trust can't breathe. Chika exhaled slowly, a tear sliding down her cheek. But how do I trust again? She whispered. Pastor Grace smiled sadly. By choosing to listen more than you accuse, by asking, not assuming, and by healing, not monitoring. That night, Chika deleted the screenshots she had secretly saved, not because the pain was gone, but because she chose not to relive it. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's deciding the past won't poison the future. Nnamdi, on his part, gave her access to his phone voluntarily. Not because I owe you proof, he said, but because I want you to feel peace. It wasn't about passwords anymore. It was about partnership. The journey wasn't instant. There were relapses, moments of suspicion, nights of silent distance, times when Chika's hand hovered near his phone again, but stopped. Healing, after all, isn't linear. And through it all, they learned something that every couple needs to hear. Trust isn't built by control. It's built by consistency. A spouse can hand you their phone 100 times, but if their heart remains closed, nothing changes. Transparency without emotional connection is just surveillance. In every relationship, there will come a test, not just of loyalty, but of trust maturity. Do you handle uncertainty with fear or faith? Do you choose communication over confrontation? As the weeks passed, Chika began to notice small gestures. Nnamdi cooking dinner, leaving notes, initiating conversations. Tiny acts of emotional repair. And though she still felt the sting of betrayal, she started seeing effort again. The language of love rewritten through accountability. Because real relationships aren't defined by the absence of mistakes, but by the courage to rebuild after them. But what happens when forgiveness meets resistance, when one partner wants to heal and the other still hides behind fear and guilt? What happens when transparency becomes a test of love itself? If you're touched by this story, comment "Marriage with Wisdom," share it with loved ones, and subscribe for more real-life stories that heal hearts on Responsible Parenting TVC. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell. The next part might just change how you see love forever. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, a fragile calm returned to Chika and Nnamdi's home. The laughter of their children began to fill the spaces once occupied by suspicion. But though the storm had passed, the air still carried the memory of rain. Trust, as they learned, doesn't return in a single moment of apology. It grows back through hundreds of small, consistent acts. One Saturday morning, Chika woke up to find Nnamdi on the balcony typing something on his phone. Her heart skipped, an old reflex of fear, but instead of reacting, she walked up quietly and asked, "Who are you texting?" He smiled, handed her the phone. It was a message draft addressed to her. "Thank you for not giving up on us." That was the moment she realized healing had begun. But let's be honest, forgiveness is never neat. It's messy. It comes with flashbacks, tears, and moments when old wounds sting like fresh ones. Some nights, Chika still questioned her choice to stay. Other nights, Nnamdi fought guilt that kept him awake long after she'd fallen asleep. Yet, amidst the imperfection, something divine was happening. They were learning to rebuild love consciously. One evening, during a marriage enrichment program in their church, Pastor Grace spoke words that resonated deeply with them. A phone is not the problems, it's the mirror. It reflects the state of your communication. If you're scared of what your partner might hide, the issue isn't the phone. It's the fear that connection is lost, that truth hit differently. Because for Chika and Nnamdi, it was never about a password. It was about presence. They began new routines, nightly check-ins, open conversations about their emotional needs, shared prayers before bed. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they cried, but they stayed honest. And that honesty, not surveillance, became the foundation of a renewed marriage. One evening, while folding laundry, Chika said softly, "Do you think we'll ever stop remembering that night?" Nnamdi took her hand. "Maybe not," he said, "but maybe that's okay. Maybe it's our reminder not to take trust for granted." She smiled faintly. "So we forgive, but we don't forget." He nodded. "We remember, so we don't repeat." Across the world, millions of couples struggle with this same silent question. Is it ever right to check your partner's phone? And perhaps the truest answer is this: checking a phone might show you the truth, but healing requires checking your heart. Because no matter how many devices you inspect, no password can unlock peace until both hearts decide to rebuild together. The moral of this story is simple yet profound. Love thrives where trust breathes freely. Privacy and transparency are not enemies. They are twin pillars of respect. And if you ever feel tempted to spy, pause first and ask, what am I truly afraid of losing? Sometimes the real proof of love is not found in your partner's messages, but in your ability to communicate your fears with honesty and grace. As for Chika and Nnamdi, they didn't just save their marriage, they rebuilt it stronger. Their story became a testimony in their church, inspiring other couples to confront pain with truth and mistrust with maturity. Because every healed marriage becomes light for another that's breaking. So, dear viewer, what truth in this story spoke to you the most? Was it the pain of betrayal, the courage to forgive, or the wisdom to communicate before suspicion takes over? Put your answers in the comments. Here's the truth worth holding on to. If love is real, it can survive anything, as long as both hearts choose humility over ego and healing over hiding. Let's end this with a word of affirmation. Lord, teach us to love with honesty, to forgive with courage, and to rebuild what fear tried to destroy. Restore peace, trust, and joy to every home that has been wounded by secrecy or suspicion. Strengthen hearts that are hurting and remind us that true love is transparent, kind, and patient in Jesus' name. Amen. If you are touched by this video, kindly comment, "I choose trust over fear." Share this video with your family, friends, colleagues, and loved ones. Like, follow, and subscribe for more gripping stories on responsible parenting TVC. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring real-life stories that heal hearts and strengthen homes. Thank you for watching Responsible Parenting TVC. If this story blessed you, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Together, let's build homes and marriages that last, one truth at a time.